Hello and welcome to Show and Sell, the show that celebrates digging through other people's trash. Hello and welcome, Trash Dragons. I am Chris, Trash Dragon of the West. This is my guitar, Mr. Blankenship.
Hi,
Mr.
Mr. Blankenship.
He says hello back and reminded me I sell media on eBay and Discogs.
I am Katie, and I am Trash Dragon of the West, and I sell mostly clothing and accessories, but I shop for anything unique and sparkly. And currently, I am also a Trash Dragon of the West. Normally, I'm Trash Dragon of the South.
My name is Joe. I'm the Trash Dragon of the East, and I sell a little bit of everything. But you'll get this Goosebumps folder out of my cold, dead hands.
That's great. What's in it?
A pencil notation that says 2002-3. We can't even see it because it's so faint. Yeah, they're having a really hard.
Like Jill Loves Tyler or
No. It was well. This came from an adult's flat file, and I had to. It's also got some stains on it from Goo Gone because I had to peel a big sticker off of it.
We recorded this episode a little bit out of whack, so we're recording this last, but we have a great interview with Al Hoff, who did the Thrift Score Zine.
And of course, I would just like to point out because we recorded the interview first, we can say it was a great interview with full knowledge. It was a great interview.
Yeah, exactly.
Not like we have any bad interviews, but
usually we're just guessing. But one of the things I wanted to say about the book is there's I haven't been able to take a lot of time to read it, but she has a section where she tells you how to take care of melamine. I think is how you pronounce it. Like the plastic plates from the 60s.
That's amazing. That's
she's
really
just
helpful.
Yeah, there's just like a little thing. It's like, yeah, don't put it in the oven. Don't eat blueberries or stainy stuffs off it. Like it's very there's like little fun facts about K-Tel, which I'm interested in. There's a section where she described how the one guy basically artificially raised the thrift market with lunchboxes. It's a fascinating book. She did a zine for years, and it was I'm so happy that we were able to get on. And like as Joe said, we know it's a great interview. And so let's move on to our first segment of the thing that brought you joy. That brought you joy. We are back. Katie, would you like to reclaim your spot as the first guest, but not going
not
forward?
Guest, she's a host.
I know, but she's the first person I usually pick for things.
I'd like to reclaim my time as first.
Yes.
This is
first amongst equals.
Because I'm traveling, and I knew we were recording while I was traveling, I could only bring clothing items because they're small to pack, and I have a packing weight limit issue. Always. So, this is something that is light and airy.
Wow.
Now, I knew what it was when it was in the bins right away.
Right.
Because these patterns tend to be only one company or someone copying that company. Right. This is that company. So this is Emilio Pucci, and I found it at the bins, which was approximately 30 cents. It was in a tiny ball like this, but if you know. So I nabbed it. And the reason I know that it's Pucci, even though there's no label in the back, first of all, it's nylon. It's like a little nightie from the 60s, I would guess. And it says EP, very small in there.
Oh, yeah.
With little initials that say EPFR, which means that this is Emilio Pucci for Form Fit Rogers, which is a nightie company. Like they do like ladies' nighttime-y stuff.
Yeah.
So this was supposed to be your very fancy luxury designer jammies. Is what it was. It's just a little slip. And it's really cute. And Pucci's always such a cool print. I've had a few good Pucci finds in my life, but this one I held on to.
And usually I see, like, a lot of times they're a lot more abstract. The ones I've seen either the repros or the ones that I've been able to people have bought are a lot more abstract. That one feels a lot more.
Yeah, this one's it's a pretty neat pattern, but it does have a lot of print, but it's not like the geometric shapes that you might associate with Pucci. But I think I don't know. When I looked up the line, they did quite a few things for Form Fit Rogers, and I don't remember the exact year. It was 70 something, I think, that they did the crossover. But it was a fun find. Also, I think people didn't think it was Pucci because there's no label in the back. You got to know to look for those little tiny. It's spread throughout. There's these little initials on the Pucci stuff. Yeah, Joe, let's go.
Oh, well, okay, I got this today. I was at the auction house and I was looking. I opened up a drawer. I was just doing some work, just like I stopped by to do some work, and I opened a drawer of a dresser, and there was a piece of contact paper that hadn't been glued in. It had just been, the contact paper I think was just cut out and laid in, which seems pretty weird for a dresser liner. Why not just get regular paper? I don't know. Anyway, this was under there, and I was like, I just told the guy at the auction, I was like, I'm taking this, and it is a drawing. It's a children's drawing, and it seems a little bit cliche to have a children's drawing, but it says, I'll just read it out, and then I'll show it to you. Thank you, Aunt Nancy, and then it says something crossed out. You probably was going to be thank you again, Uncle Howard, Fred. And then it has a drawing of what looks like a child holding a lollipop. And then in the background, you can see what to the best of my knowledge, it seems to be a guy kicking another guy in the butt out a door. And I'm just like, that's a pretty great drawing. So I'm, just like, it's just such a weird, I mean, it's like, it's just like, I can't.
It feels like something a psychiatrist was like, could you draw, or a psychologist could be like, could you draw what happened to you? This is what happened.
This is the kind of
Why
thing.
Are they on the globe? Are they on
No, I think
in the world? Are they?
Like
what are they?
I think he's holding a lollipop, or maybe it's a bowling ball. But I think it's almost like, because it almost seems like a stereotypical child with an oversized lollipop.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I can't that's kind of that's one of the mysteries. Also, is he wearing a shirt, or does he just have a weird, some weird sleevelets? Maybe it's a turtleneck and it goes all the way up to his
the shrug.
Yeah.
So it's just like the arms.
Just leather arm, upper arm protector. Yeah, exactly.
And then the child has a moon tattoo on his chest. Chris, what about you? What did you what brought you joy this week?
This is both joy and a little bit of frustration. So it's
a tambourine?
So Tokyo Disney Resort. It's one of those bags that holds a bag. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's like one of these. So it's a bib if you want it to be, if you have enough imagination, but it's basically a bag attached to a bag. And I like having these on me in my kind of satchel that I carry around, because sometimes you just need a little bag. And this is handy. And I love that it's Tokyo Disneyland. I love that it's new. And it costs 2,000 yen. I know that now. So it was just a nice find, but I part of it was just I needed this because I lost my previous one going to helping our mutual friend Rami out at a raid event at Akbar, and I left my I brought some stuff for her, and I left the bag there. And I think I remember texting her. I'm like, hey, if you see one of these orange nylon bags in this incredibly busy gay dance bar, let me know. But it was just gone. And I had that bag for 10 years. And so it really bummed me out. And I finally found something. I'm like, if I can figure out how this goes in, it doesn't make any sense to how this should fold into itself. So that's
makes sense for it to have a bib Chris, let's talk about the real fact, which is that why is there a bib on that bag?
It's not a bib. It's just like it can be a bib if.
Oh, just the handles. Okay.
Yeah, it's just the handles. If no, I was just playing.
It looks so much like a bib.
I know.
When you did it
You
like
actually
that.
could you could fasten around your neck and then like eat cereal out of the little bag in front. Like,
or just this is where I put my little baby kangaroo. Hello, little Roo. What are you doing? Just like, have you ever seen a kangaroo go into a bag? It's pretty magical. But all right, well, I think we're going to move on to the Trash Dragon of the Week, who is Al Hoff of Thrift Score magazine and someone who's been doing this before all you were born.
Trash Dragon of the Week. Rawr.
All right, we're back. Al Hoff is our guest. She is famous. She is famous for Thrift Score, amongst some certain singles. If you were a zine buyer, interester, purchaser, you probably saw her zine back out in the day. And she is here with us. Al, welcome. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
How did you get started thrifting?
Well, basically the whole family thrifted, so there's no origin point because we always just thrifted. My dad would come home. He worked across the street from a crappy old Goodwill. We'd come home with stuff. My mother would take us to the Salvation Army. We bought stuff for, that we wanted, like clothes or whatever, useful things, but mostly it was just looking for weird things, goofy things, oddball things. My parents were big fans of like sort of the Sanford and Son kind of interior decorating. So very early on. And then when I was a teenager, I would just, have my own pocket money from babysitting or whatever. Would just go down to the thrifts on Mission Street and just, buy mostly clothes, but also records, tchotchkes, whatever caught my eye.
Right.
Never stopped. It's not like the old days when you could pull up with a pickup truck some random thrift store and fill it with stuff from the 50s and 60s and drive away having busted a $20 bill.
Right.
Those days were over.
They'll come back. They're coming back. How did you get started doing the zine? This was originally a zine back in the 90s,
correct.
Which was a self-published magazine that. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, quick. This is a quick side story, but I was once with with somebody at who was an Onion business guy, and we went into Quimby's to talk. I don't know why I was there, but he was like, yeah, I'm really into zines, and it was one of those moments where I just wanted to crawl under a rock and die.
You said that to the Quimby's people?
Yeah, and Quimby's, of course, is one of the nation's coolest zine stores. I'm just like, I'm like, Hirsch, damn it, what are we doing here?
What?
I apologize.
It could have been very well read. Like, you never.
It's short for magazine. So.
Yeah. But to answer your question, like I was aware of zines. I had done them in high school, and as I say, helped some friends when I was in college in like the early 80s. And the thing that was the impetus for the zine was, I guess I just was aware they were kind of coming back as a thing. And then I got a computer, probably 93 or 94, and it came with a free Prodigy account. So I was using that, and I was like, there was like a group, like a little text group chat for thrift people. And I was like, wow, other people are really into thrifting. Like it'd be fun to kind of connect with them. So that was pretty much the impetus, was just sort of this the internet sort of gave me this realization of like, oh, besides my 5 friends, there's like the whole nation is filled with people like me. And wouldn't it be fun if we could all kind of connect? Because the original idea of the zine was to make it be a little collaborative. I mean, I wrote a lot of it. Obviously, I was the only one that ever put it all together. But if you go back and look at the old issues, and I'm sure they're embarrassing, but if you do go back and look at them, you'll see that there was other people contributed, or there was like questions. And be like, in the next issue, everybody write in and tell me this thing. And that actually really worked, and I really enjoyed that aspect of it. And it just got me like a million pen pals and friends. And like it just turned out to be like this really kind of fun social thing. And then there was so much validation and people writing back to me saying, I'm living in like the middle of Iowa and I'm the only one that like goes to the thrift stores and buys all these weird things. And it's like just so great to see your zine and know that there's all these other people like me. And it's just, yes.
Well, it's also.
So then it lasted, it was just 5 years. But then the internet kind of absolutely just wiped out.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't wipe that out, but like it was like a weird, sweet little moment where it was just enough internet where people could be in touch easily, but not so much that it kind of just overwhelmed the sort of intimate feeling. So
right. I always kind of say like, that we were just talking about this before the show, that how the internet really seemed to kind of get a grip on culture in like 2005-ish. And that's also when everyone decided to kind of rebel and become Martha Stewart. So they're like making their own soap, their own sausage, their own clothes, their own this, their own that. So everyone tried to become like an expert in things. And I kind of feel like that is how like a weird thing about technology that we can never predict.
But it's interesting because like in 2002, myself and a different group of friends, younger friends here in Pittsburgh that had all come out of punk or zines or other things like that. We all put together one of the first like indie craft fairs where we were all just doing weird crafts.
Right.
Partly because we had houses full of stuff we thrifted. I have a fabric problem. You can't see this, like a room behind me that's entirely filled with fabric. And yeah, so we would just like, oh, what if we just like did really bad crafts with all the junk we had? And so it's interesting because that's the exact same thing. We kind of downshifted to like some punk rock version of like doing things with our hands. And then that got really popular and codified and commodified and got wiped out. And so it's just
right.
Now I just stay home. I don't try anymore.
But like that's becoming popular too. So what are you going to do now?
What is that on? Like higging or whatever the Danish word is?
For cozy.
Home with blankets? Yeah, because I have like 40 years worth of blankets. So I'm fine. I'm good.
40 years worth of food. And so you said you went to school with Johnny Marr. The Murder Can Be Fun.
Yeah. We both went to UC Berkeley.
Okay. And how you guys both like kind of helped each other?
Right. The first year he was like 1 or 2 years ahead of me, but the first year I was at Berkeley, I lived in the dorm because it's brutal place to find housing, and I didn't want to live in the dorm, but I had nowhere else to live. And we were waiting in line the day to go into the dorm. It was 1981, and I had just come back from spending the summer in London, and I had on like my super skinny black jeans and like a hairdo and like a Specials t-shirt or something, and he had a shopping cart filled with Ventures records. And the two of us just like looked at each other across the line and were like, all these like frat kids from LA, like in their polos, and like you and I might like be friends. It's true, we were. So we still are. I just actually saw him in San Francisco a couple months ago. So.
I still do kind of miss the you like the same stuff I like? Yeah, we can be friends. Era of like the 70s, 80s, 90s.
Like now when you walk around, like everyone is, I mean, people still signify with their clothes and stuff, but it just seems less clear. Like in those days, if you had skinny black pants on, like though I got skinny legs, I hand sewed those pants, so I had to lie down on the floor to get them on. They were so narrow at the shins and the ankle. And if it was 1981 and you saw someone wearing those pants, you immediately knew they were into all the cool bands.
Yeah.
Like there was no one else wearing those pants, right? It was, if your hair was like shaved or dyed or. So yeah, I kind of miss those days when it was just like.
I grew up a little later. Like I graduated high school in '88, and I was always like, I knew that those were my people, but at the same time, I was also super intimidated by those people, and I was like, I'm not cool enough.
Right.
So I compensated by being loud and boisterous for a very long time.
I also would occasionally travel back in time and tell him, Joe, you're not cool enough yet. Like, but I know this band, but I'm like, sorry, I'm from the future. I know what happens.
My birthday party shirt.
Yes. So, what do you thrift these days? Like when you go out?
I still love fabric, and I still love odd. If something's small and odd, I still like it, even though I have to stop buying those things. I always loved kitchen stuff and dishware that is also useful, but is like cooler looking.
Yeah.
Like I did need a spatula recently, and I got one at a yard sale that is, it's like one of the metal ones, like you flip pancakes with, but instead of having the horizontal, like symmetrical grooves, it has a series of like weird different size circles.
Oh, interesting.
So things like that give me a lot of joy. Like it's an old one, it's like from the 60s maybe, and they just designed it different for no reason. And I'm like, ooh, this is cool.
But that's why you go thrifting.
Things like that. Right. Yeah. And our dishware is like what I call dinerware, the big heavy stuff like we used to get in a diner. So I'll just buy all kinds of mismatched plates still. And clothes. I mean, I have a job, so if the button-down shirt that costs, $60 in the store and it's $5,
right.
I'll buy it.
Yep.
It's like,
no, this was a estate sale find. It's what, just a Hager light summer sport coat, $5. New. It's
no reason to buy something like that new.
Yeah.
There's no shortage of them out there waiting for you.
Yeah. And if you get really desperate, you can just peel them off of people while they're walking.
So many weird things I bought because they were funny, and then like you guys talk about the research books, the books where they had all the weird records.
Mm-hmm.
We bought so much of that kind of stuff because this is a book with a funny cover, this is a record with a funny cover, and I'm actually just trying to move all that stuff out to other people. So I don't have as much of the odd stuff anymore because people come to my house are like, oh God, that's so weird, and I'm like, please don't. I've had it for 35 years.
Right.
Please don't. Okay, so I did bring some things. One of the things that, the old thrift maxim about, if you have one, it's cool. If you have three, it's cooler. If you have 100, like it's just this awesome thing. So one of the things that when they were super cheap, 10 cents, 25 cents, we used to buy the little silly sculpts, the little things that look like this.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
like, I love you this much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had probably at one point 150 of these, all different. There were like two main companies that made them. And one of the people I met through Thrift Score is like a longtime person that goes to Burning Man, like, 20, 25 years of Burning Man. And he sets up a camp every year where he has these silly sculpts. And 10 years ago, I was going to he lives in Reno, and I was doing a trip to Death Valley. And I said, my dude, I'm going to be like near you. I'm on Southwest. I have a free bag. Can you drive down to Death Valley? It's like 5 hours from Reno. And can you collect all these stupid things for me? So I flew out on Southwest with an enormous duffel bag that was only filled with these silly sculpts. And we met at Zabriskie Point, and we had this ceremonial handing over of all these silly sculpts, which he then all incorporated into his Burning Man setup. So I was like, this is perfect, right? Like I bought them. They're like now having a second life, entertaining people on the playa. But I kept a couple, including this one, because it is one of those great examples of terrible with the cute. Can you read? It says groove on brother, and then it's an African-American dude. So it's from American Greetings, which is the people that they're like the competitor to Hallmark, right? They do cards for grandma. It's 1972.
It looks almost like an R. Crumb kind of style.
And it's, there's nothing wrong with this, and it's not like weird, and it's not even offensive necessarily, but it is just like, I love things like this that are just so indicative of these cultural moments where it's 1972, and in these American Greetings is based in Cleveland. At some point in the boardroom or the idea room, someone's like, we got to get onto this like Black Power thing. And they just built this, and they're like, put it out there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah.
We did it, fellow white executives. Like, high five.
This is one of the ones I kept just because it just reminds, I love, and I don't know whether it was like a good idea or a bad idea. It's probably by our time today, not a great idea. But at the time, I think they would have just kind of been like, let's make an effort to have a Black Power.
Right. That's amazing. That's good.
This, perhaps because you guys are guys, you can help me with. I love this. It is made of Bakelite.
Right.
Oh, wow.
It's like a multi-sided die, but the numbers are bonkers, including these 4-digit numbers. I don't even know what it's for.
Oh, I don't know what it's for, but I will say it's like it doubles, and it's like
it's a math thing.
I think it might specifically be about RAM, because you had like RAM was based on usually just it's 4s. So they should all be divisible by 4. Maybe I might be wrong. And it's like
I'm 8. Yeah, I'm guessing these are all divided by 4.
Yeah, and then there's like.
But the weird thing is, it's an old plastic, right? It's not.
Right, so
it's not. It's like it's made of Bakelite. It's super heavy. You know how you can just tell.
Yeah.
So I feel like the plastic predates RAM.
No, definitely. They stopped Bakelite. They stopped doing in the 60s.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. That's such a, and it's also so big. It's like
it's big. Like I feel like if you played this in a game, it'd be dangerous.
Right.
Like, I got 2048.
Yeah, come on, 512. I need a new pair of shoes. But if you do find out the secret, please let us know.
Yeah,
please.
All right. So, like I said, I mentioned I have fabric. I do some light sewing. And so sometimes I pick up things that are going to be like, I'm going to do something with this sewing wise, and I never do. So this is a child's t-shirt that I picked up because I'm going to turn it into a pillow. I love it. Can you see? It's a family. It's a family of all corn, but it's insane. It's the kernel, it's the popcorn, and then it's candy corn.
That's amazing.
Who looks like the candy corn looks like it's been out in Vegas all night.
So, candy corn is made from corn syrup, so there's a link, but it's not really corn.
Right.
And here's another hideous Bizarro t-shirt that is like cut up already. So this is from I remember I got this in Columbus, Ohio. It's the 2-sided sweatshirt of this completely terrifying dog that is chained to the barbell.
Yeah. Forced to work out.
Well, and then look what he's really working on. Look at the cojones on this dog. Horrifying.
Yeah. I don't think you can build those up with weights.
I don't know. Have you tried chaining yourself to the barbell?
That's true. So why don't we move on to our next segment, Joe?
Oh, our next segment is called Tales from the Flypt.
Tales from the Flypt. Tales from the Flypt.
Tales from the Flypt. We are back. The question is, how has thrifting changed since you began thrifting? We'll have our guest Al go on last, unless you want to go first.
Okay. I'll be here all day. You guys go first.
Okay. Katie, since you just kind of were able to join us, why don't you go first?
It's more expensive. Does that help?
That helps.
Thrifting is sometimes more than Target, like just depending on the item. Like for example, especially in clothing, I know in Los Angeles, when I left Los Angeles, Goodwill, so Goodwill's brand of stores, the dresses were $10.99. All dresses, that's the baseline. I remember when they were $4.99 and $5.99, but they're almost $10, which is again, for some chains, new clothing prices, which is a shame. But that's the first thing that came to my mind. Also, more people do it. So I used to call like the non-picked thrift stores. So it would be places where like the professional pickers wouldn't go because they had been like sort of untouched and you could still find stuff. Fewer and fewer of those exist. People are catching on.
But Joe, why don't you go?
I was just thinking when Al was talking about like some of the kitschy finds, for example, like what are those figures called? The W.M. Berries,
the silly sculpts and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't see those like as much as like you used to see them a lot more frequently, and like you don't find that fun stuff anymore. Like I know that maybe I'm getting older and the fun stuff is there. And if you're like in your 20s, you'll be like, I remember that. But I just don't like. There's like that kind of fun excitement is just seems to be gone. Like either it's getting picked or before I get there, or it's just not as feels a little bit antiseptic unless you go to like the smaller, like some of the smaller ones, and even those can be a little bit antiseptic. Although there is one that's right in my neck of the woods, the Tibetan thrift store, which actually moved recently. It's a not-for-profit that they're associated with. Like there's a couple Tibetan Buddhist monasteries around me, so it benefits one of those, and that's always a little bit disorderly, a little bit of shambles. I like that one. So
yeah,
shambles is fun.
Yeah. I always like the ones in LA that are run by either like a hospital or someone who like a retirement home. Like they have some kind of like, oh yeah, we'll just take your stuff and sell it. Is that Francis?
That's Francis. Howling dog. One moment, please.
Yep.
Haven't you noticed too that a lot of the thrift stores seem to also be buying pallets or something? There's a few thrift stores, and I don't know,
selling pallets or buying pallets.
Like buying pallets from like Overstock from Walmart or Target, places like that, because especially like if you go in the home section, it's a lot of like the curtains that are from Target or from Walmart. So clothing is like Morona brand and stuff.
Oh yeah, no, I did know that's a good point. Like yeah, there's always like those like already bagged stuff that it's like $5 or $10, and it's just like
right.
Yeah, like
I don't know why thrift stores are doing that. Maybe because I know that for certain periods of time, especially during COVID, they weren't even accepting donations. But it's like we were accepting stuff from Target.
Right.
Why accept humans?
I've definitely seen that, and I would say even in the last 10 years. And I mean, sometimes I'd go to my thrift store and there would just be an entire rack of basically new Gap clothes, and somebody made a really half-hearted attempt to cut the Gap tag out. And I would be like, this is great because like Gap is like perfect for work, and I would just like scoop up all that stuff. But my feeling was that the Gap stores were just locally dumping it at their store to write it off.
That might be what
because they essentially, even like Gap like turns their stuff over really fast, so they're like, it's cheaper to give to the thrift store and take a write off than it is to like send it back to headquarters or whatever.
Right.
Yeah,
I think to like kind of another thing like I've seen is just the kitchen supplies are often like in there. It's kind of like the dollar store kitchen stuff will make it into Goodwill. Same market, I guess, but it's just trying to think. Like I guess for me, like the thing was like I think I was kind of like started thrifting. Like I wanted books and LPs mainly, and I still collect LPs and I buy books to resell. But LP, it's just like it felt like looking back on all the stuff you could get LP wise was ridiculous. Like you could get, so I remember a friend of mine, even in the late 90s, was just like, yeah, I'm looking for High and Dry by Def Leppard. I'm like, I could get you a copy of that. So I went back home, went to the record store, found a copy of it. Like not a record store, thrift store, found it because I knew it would be there. Like it was just like, I'm like, I've seen that a million times at these kinds of stores. Everything has been picked through so completely that, unless you get there earlier, it's just the, not even the good Mantovani albums. It's just
it's. I mean, are there more than one good Mantovani? Are there any good Mantovani albums?
I don't know. I can't really speak to that.
But you in the comments, you're about to get in a fight.
Come at me, the Mantovani estate. But
I think I might have the entire Ray Conniff discography at this point.
Yeah, I know.
Because I just got tired of seeing them. I'm like, all right, fine, and I just collected them all like Pokemon.
You were bullied by the Ray Conniff collection to collect it. So good. Al, what do you got? Like since you started thrifting, you said you started from an early
1970s. 1970s.
Like you grew up in a thrifting family.
Yeah. Back in the day, before San Francisco was a tech hole. Yeah, you know what I think is two significant things. One is like what you guys are basically saying, which is that like a lot more people do it. A lot more people are looking for the same cool things. The stores themselves are picking, you know what I mean? Like they're savvy enough to know that we won't put the spot on the floor. We'll sell it online. But I think also when I'm thrifting in like the 80s, 90s, even the early zeros, people are donating stuff from like 20, 30, 40 years ago still. And that's like cool and interesting and well-made stuff. Mm-hmm. So I feel now in the year 2024, people are donating stuff from 10, 20, 30 years ago, but it's not interesting and it absolutely was not well-made.
Right.
So, it's like I would buy overcoats from the 40s and I could wear them 5 more years. They were just well-made garments. Same thing with like heavy duty dishware and things like that. But everything made of plastic, all the stuff that's just mass produced cheaply for people to use for a year, it goes to the thrifts and it just doesn't have any appeal. And part of me is sad because I feel like because our whole culture has moved on to just all this disposable junk, that's what's in the thrift stores. Because we're 20, 30, 40 years deep into not having things that are well-made or interesting or kooky. And it's just the homogenization and cheapening of everything has just now made the thrift stores not as awesome as they used to be. There really was this sweet spot when all the people who had good union jobs in the 50s and 60s and like bought a bigger house and bought every damn thing that Sears sold.
Yeah.
And then they all died or moved to Florida in the 80s and 90s. And there was just a wave of that stuff going to the thrift stores. And we were all lucky enough to be there. I just don't think that's ever coming back.
I never even really put that two together. I noticed I've talked about this a lot. I don't know how much on the show, but like the fact that fashion hasn't changed dramatically since like the 2000s, early 2000s. Like a lot of things I wear now, like if I transported back to 2003, it wouldn't be like, who is this future man? They'd be like, oh, yeah, you're here. One of the explanations I've heard for it is that, fashion, like clothing houses used to be owned by the artist. Now they're owned by the bean counters. Same thing with plate companies. It's someone who had a vision, and now it's a guy who knows how to work spreadsheets. It's just
they used to have seasons, too, which the idea of seasons in fashion is just completely disappeared. Like, fast fashion has just completely wiped that out. People just shop all the time. Right. It used to really be, you maybe remember when you were a kid, you're like, I have to buy clothes for summer.
Right.
I have to get back to school clothes, this kind of thing. And like you would go to the store and there would only be winter clothing if you obviously lived in a place where there was a winter. And it's just not like that anymore because it's just a continual churn because consumers just buy constantly.
But Katie, like you're coming into this new, do you think we did it just on this segment?
Right. It sounds like you more than did it, and I wasn't here for it, so now I'm sad. But congratulations all around.
But what would you give the episode if you were to
with 10 more pluses?
Oh wow, A plus with
pluses, A plus times 12.
Wow. Okay. Good.
I give it 5 stars.
I should also.
You do on the star system. I can't steal your system. I'm doing on grades because it's back to school.
I also 2 thumbs up. But we're gonna, since we've done it once again, we're gonna play that closing song that everyone's been craving on the charts. But before we begin the song, thank you, Al, for coming on.
My pleasure.
Very much.
Showing us your great stuff, being patient while we try to make this happen.
It's the weekend.
It's everything. But it's so nice to be able to finally meet Al Hoff of Thrift Score.
Amazing.
All right. Thank you for watching Show and Sell. If you remember, hit like, share, subscribe, and if you do, everything is gonna be alright. And if you don't, things are gonna be a little bit brighter for us. There's an algorithm controlling all of our lives. Thank you for watching Show and Sell. If you remember, ring the bell. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Al.
Thanks a lot, everybody.
Bye-bye. Happy thrifting.
Happy thrifting one and all.
And to all, look.
Hey, thanks for coming, everybody.